thank you for joining me. I'm here to tell a story as CEO and co-founder of CyberDyme. And what we do is we built a personal AI coach for corporate training in virtual reality. So let me walk you through my story, my origin story, and how I connected the dots later to get to a product that we have delivered today. And on the last phase of our discussion, how you can build your own story as a founder. Would you fund this kid? That's me, looking like a chupacabra. And from that origin is where I started my startup story. My mom there and my dad have been married over 50 years. I'm my parents' child. My grandparents over 60 years. And I learned a couple of things from that experience. I learned about culture. I learned about compromise. I learned about dedication. I learned about commitment. As you find yourself in your startup journey and with co-founders and teammates, dig deep. Look into yourself and your past, your history, your origins. And from this origin and through this cloud of protection that my family gave me to take some risks. I was a young kid and I saw this article on a magazine stand, and it was from Track and Field News, and it was the front cover of the UCLA head coach, and they just won the NCAA championships. And I said, wow, my dad was running, I started running, I want to run for UCLA, and I want to run for Coach Larson. And everybody said, be a little bit more realistic. So all I did was figure out who are the best runners in the world. They were the Kenyans. I wanted to eat like them. I wanted to train like them. And at 8 years old, that was my path. That was my goal. That was my target. And from there, when I went into high school, I talked to a high school counselor. So here are going to be a lot of naysayers if you go on your journey as well. And she said simply, what college would you like to go to? And I said, UCLA. And she said, why don't you be a little bit more realistic? I had good grades, but what she didn't know was I wasn't asking for permission. Just put me in the classes I need to be in, and I'll do the rest. Fast forward, I made it to UCLA, won 4 Pac-10 championships in a row, ended up guest lecturing in UCLA economics class and how to codify a great company culture. And I learned a lot of humility as well. I wasn't the best runner, but I trained with the best. I trained with the best in the history of the world. I trained with world record holders. In this picture alone, talk about a picture of a startup journey. I'm a senior in this picture. I'm thinking I'm doing pretty good. I won my first invitation. You see that kid right in front telling me where to go? He's a freshman. He finished the race, went through the chute, came back, and cheered me on. Great teammate. He won the Boston Marathon, New York Marathon, silver medal in the Olympics, and probably one of the greatest American runners in history. And they brought them. So surrounding yourself with people of excellence also taught me something about dedication, about commitment. And I didn't realize how that was going to connect later. And this is in your phase for the majority of you, of your journey. So I left UCLA, teacher, went to BEA Systems. I was born and raised in Silicon Valley, a startup. They sold $8.5 billion to Oracle. Got in the corporate education world, dabbled in some other stuff. I always wanted to make films. People are like, why are you interested in making films? I don't know, it's on my bucket list. It will never connect to your career. I wrote and produced 20 short films, a feature film. This is the feature. Getting acquired by Netflix, negotiations as we speak. And it was just a side project. I was Sundance Institute recognized, invited to the festival, and I saw virtual reality for the first time. at a New Frontiers lab at the Sundance Film Festival. It's the intersection of creatives and technology. Google was there, Meta was there, Samsung was there. And it was all because of this dumb idea to go make some films. And when I saw VR for the first time, I said, wow. I was COO of Payscout. It's a payment processing company. Payments wasn't really hot about. I love building the culture there. And I said, why don't we build a VR shopping application? If this is going to be the next computing platform, then we need to have a shopping application. Went back to the CEO, and I said, I want to build a VR shopping app. We'll be the first ones in the world to do so. He said, you know how to do it? I said, no. Can you figure it out? I go, yeah. He said, well, in 3 months we have a conference. Why don't you showcase it there? So we did. And this was our first mission statement or purpose, and I still don't know what it is. Very unclear. We're going to build everything for everyone, and frictionless payments, and all this other stuff. We're just figuring it out. It was another good lesson. Try to keep things concise. Try to understand working backwards from the problem. But we're excited. And we built the first VR shopping application. And Inc. magazine called, Forbes called, TV interviews, Visa called, innovation team came to our place at Payscout and said, teach us about this new commerce application. Then Accenture called. We're building an XR team. They still are. I found myself advising some of the top companies in the world as a COO of this small company, Payscout, getting all this attention, but I felt like it needed more dedication. And so what did I do? With the team members, we spun out a company called CyberDyme. And we decided to do it on April 1st, 2020. And no, it's not an April Fool's joke. Just happened to be the shutdown of the world due to COVID. And I was asked, as CEO co-founder, to raise $1.5 million in 9 months. Have you ever raised before? No. Do you know how? I'll figure it out. But we're going to build a commerce application. Long story short, people knew why they wanted to fund us. Famous Sequoia question is, why you, why now? So ask yourself, why you, why now? What makes you special? Well, we got this. We got all these top companies in the world that are coming towards us and advising. But the why now, the timing was off. I knew it. VR wasn't being adopted by consumer, but it was with the enterprise. And there were certain applications that were taking hold. I had to wait. We still have some patents that we're going to launch with VR shopping applications. And in the future, because you guys are going to make a lot of money, you'll have your Louis Vuitton purses and dresses and shoes that you could buy there that we're talking to. But until then, I got a call from a top cruise line that we have been working with. And it said, Juan, can you do training in VR? And I said, well, why? He says, because corporate training sucks. And I go, you're right. That's a major problem. I asked everybody, who likes corporate training and is it effective? Do you like role-playing? Nah, it's awkward, it's hard to schedule. E-learning, everybody's distracted and it doesn't stick. So can we do it in VR? I said, I've seen it done in VR. Let's try. So we built something at this later stage, it came into fruition. It's called VRHR. We put these different modules in a headset, distraction-free, and we had people look at the videos, answer some questions, and we said, hey, we think we got something here. And he said, but it wasn't sticking quite enough. And then all of a sudden, the area of AI came into play. And we said, we need personalization that scales. So working backwards from a problem while you're working with AI, we aren't an AI native company, but now we're building a personal AI coach. We're not doing AI for AI's sake. We're using it to solve a problem. And when you do that and it's really big, people get excited. And so from this standpoint, we built a biometric feedback coach who could come in and in VR can analyze your emotional tone, based on frequency ways is one indication. Eye contact, facial expressions, and your pronunciation. We're here talking about the other, I think Brian was talking about getting feedback loops when it comes to my resume. Well, this is a personal coach that's going to understand how you communicate effectively, not just with your words, but with all these various biometric markers. But guess what? That wasn't enough. I said, how do we scale it? How do we generate scripts of role-playing situations that are very highly emotional, is what we heard, and then have an AI coach interact with you in VR, and from there, get all of this feedback, combining LLM best practices, corporation best practices, and biometric best practices, and get to a point in every second of a conversation with the AI coach, I am going to understand where you have optimized your feedback and not. How's that historical data? And over time, understand you better than anybody in the world. How about that? They're like, yes. And so we built XR Studio using AI. So AI is not just specific features within your solution. It could be used to natively build within your company, your project, whatever it may be. Every step of the way, being not an AI company, I think, could be wrong saying that. At this time, everybody should be an AI company. Just like when the internet came along, now every company is a digital company. So we're utilizing these different ways that we can incorporate from vibe coding, from checking emails, we talked about Copilot, to generating videos. So here's something very specific where we're able to script roles, scenes, we're able to do Q&A, we're then able to help the learning and development manager generate videos, and what used to take 2 years ago as an example of this impact to generate a video, a couple of months, that means I have to write a script, I have to cast, I have to shoot, hire a director, I have to edit, I have to do post-production. And then after post-production, I have to come back. When we had reshoots when we were first doing this, it was a mess to get the content. And they had literally thousands and thousands and thousands of different modules, and they had to update them, and they didn't know how. 12 months ago, you could do this in days. And today, we incorporated from the beginning to the end, to edits, to lip sync, to everything, where you could start generating this content in minutes. And it's just one component. And it looks pretty darn real.
I need help. I can't find my daughter.
So from here, we wanted to generate highly emotional scenes where security officers are dealt with people that are missing their kids, that are drunk, that are fight, domestic abuse. How do we put them in high-pressure situations and predict how they're going to react based on these different markers? Using AI in the complete full-stack solution of a communication layer, we're able to do that. I want to talk a little bit about your story and your journey and some lessons that I've learned along the way. As a seed stage, pre-seed, angel, pre-seed, seed, raising millions, not knowing what I'm doing, a lot of what I'm going to talk about next on how you build something are from the mistakes that I've made. One, speed's your only advantage. Right now, today, you could build something with AI. Before, you needed to find somebody that knew how to code very, very well. Now, the smart creatives, along with coding acumen that doesn't have to be at a very high level, you can push something out, ship it. You could test it and learn from it. So what you need to know if you are starting something, I'm hearing about resumes, I'm hearing about how do I get a position, how do I get a job and networking, and that is all great. You know, the best way, we're a Google for Startup company. I ask them, when you're looking at people, what are you looking for? I want impact metrics. I want to know I built something, I had a problem. I built something using AI. I launched it. I tested it. I got feedback, and you know what? Doggone it, I failed. But I learned something from it, and this is what I learned, and this is what I'm going to do next. Because that's somebody who executes. That's somebody who solves problems. That is a resume builder. So make sure right now that you build something. It doesn't have to work the first time, because guess what? If you run your startup and decide to do it on your own, like a business, you will fail. Sounds counterintuitive. Do not run your startup like a business. You run it like an experiment. And by an experiment is you're constantly trying to find product market fit. Let me give you a simple example. I'm opening up a restaurant. Nothing sexy about that. It's a chicken sandwich place. And I think we got the best chicken in the world because I had 3 people out the door. And the next day I had 4. I think I have product market fit. And I asked my cook and I said, you know what? I'm just hungry for a burger. I hate eating chicken every day. All right, make the burger. And all of a sudden there's 500 people out the door for that doggone burger. That burger is product market fit. And guess what? I don't automate everything when I'm experimenting. I do everything manual, counterintuitive. Because if I automated the whole assembly line of how to make chicken sandwiches, I'd have to tear that doggone thing down because the burger is where product market fit hit. And once I get product market fit, then I can start to automate. I used AI to build, to ship, to learn. I can use it to help automate. At every step of the way, I'm figuring out what the problems are first. Big, hairy, fiery problems that people will pay anything for. They will stand in line. How many people know about In-N-Out Burger? Some of you probably came here and said, I want to go to In-N-Out Burger. Why? Because they found product market fit. And all they sell is a doggone burger, but they do it better than probably anybody else in the world. And they've automated it after they tinkered with it. So with that, your journey is going to start as a founder building with these different various AI technologies. Go to Google for AI courses. There's an enormous amount of free content there. Start tinkering. Join a Google development community within your area. They're everywhere. You can actually meet people. And start tinkering and start building something. And set a deadline really fast and treat it as an experiment. And once you tinker and are starting to learn more about how to actually know what the limitations are and how to overcome them and how to hack, for example, when we first started doing these videos and I started integrating various LLMs, they wouldn't let us use cuss words, but the customer did. So I had to hack it. I had to write the cuss word in a different way, or I had to wait a day, and it had to be right in the beginning because it would learn 3 days later, 3 minutes later, that I'm using cuss words. It would cut me off. You're learning the intricacies of your solution to solve problems. So treat your company like an experiment, not a business. You will do well. Build, ship, learn, repeat. And your journey can happen. To end, I have a pamphlet called Startup Street Smarts. It's 2 pages, everything I learned. Basically how to go from A to Z on how to do a startup. If you want it, I'll connect with here with Peter. I'll give it away. It's just a simple process. There's also Techstars. I'm a Techstars mentor. They're taking applications at Y Combinator right now. I'd just apply with your idea if you had a startup. They actually fund ideas. Do it. It's good to apply. It's going to teach you how to become, I think, not only a better entrepreneur, but an entrepreneurial mindset and help you be more employable even when you are within a corporation. This is my journey. This is my story. Thank you for allowing me to share it, and I want to hear your stories in a couple of years. Take care.